I need a motion to call the meeting to order, the September 20th Amenia Town Board, 2012 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
We salute the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a moment of silence for the military that's serving overseas and in this country. Thank you. Emergency exit is in the rear of the building on the right-hand side. And to the board and to the public, we're having issues with our microphones. So if we can, as a board, speak into the microphones, but we are also having some equipment issues, so hopefully we can get this resolved.
Councilwoman Reamer. Here. Councilwoman Perotti.
Here.
Councilman Haas.
Here.
Councilwoman Doyle.
Here.
And Supervisor Flood.
Here. Public comments.
Patrick Nelligan.
Hi, Patrick Nelligan, Amenia, Wasake. Specific address unknown. The last couple of meetings was the first time I noticed that there's no public comments at the end of the meeting. Janet Reagan style. I'm requesting that the town board reconsider that idea because, like on this agenda, you have a highway report, town clerk report, transfer station, resolutions for fund transfers, approval of minutes. I really don't even know we're having a meeting, but I'm sure things will come up that the public might want to talk about at the end of the meeting. Just asking the board to reconsider that policy if it was ever changed. Anyway, just noticed that. One other thing I noticed, that the wastewater project meeting that's scheduled for the 24th of this month on Monday night at 7 p.m. has not managed to get on, even though we've known about it for over 2 weeks, has not managed to get on Channel 22 to let the public know that there is such a meeting, at which you're talking about spending millions of dollars that will affect hundreds of people. And I thought it might be more important than the fact that Patty is closed on Monday, the town clerk's office, or that there's a chicken barbecue at a couple of churches. I just thought that might be more important, but apparently not. So this attempt to communicate with the wastewater people doesn't seem to be very significant. That's number one. Number two, I wrote a letter to the editor this week. If you haven't had a chance to read it in Miller News, read it. If anybody has read it and has any questions about facts or conclusions, let me know. I'll be happy to discuss it, perhaps in public comments at the end of the meeting or next time we meet. Getting to the wastewater project. The wastewater committee met on June 26th. I finally got the minutes for that. Unfortunately, I can't get the minutes, or I can't get the preliminary engineer's report that everyone in town paid $20,000 for. You voted to have an engineer's report for this wastewater project. That was an open public meeting that nobody really knew about. But at that meeting, copies of that were handed out to the people who were discussing the preliminary report from Clark Engineering about the wastewater. But according to the chairman of the wastewater committee, who is not a public official, I can't get a copy of that report. And I believe there have been significant changes since that report was submitted to the town and the wastewater committee reviewed it in June. I'd like that preliminary report available at the meeting on the 24th so people can compare the preliminary report with the final report that was presented here on July 12th. I think that would be good if you're actually trying to give people information. But based on the letter that you sent out to the people in the district, you're not trying to give out information. Based on the fact it's not on Channel 22 that there's even a meeting, you're trying to propagandize this thing. Sorry, Billy, if you don't like that, answer it afterward. It is propaganda. Look at the first 3 lines of that letter.
Are you in the sewer district?
Yes.
You are?
Yes, I'm a tenant in the sewer district.
Okay.
And even if I wasn't, I'm a taxpayer. And everybody's invited to that meeting,
right.
even though they don't know when the hell it is. It's intentional bias. After that meeting, the wastewater committee is going to go around door to door. It's in their minutes. Everybody should go online. Oh, I'm sorry, the minutes aren't online. I happen to get them because I foiled for them. The wastewater committee hasn't put minutes online since March, so that nobody would know what's going on again. But afterward, it's in the minutes, they will go door to door, trying to get people to sign a petition to sign up for this thing, which benefits about 10% of the people in the district that's been derived at. And I'm not sure how it's been derived at. How did you come up with 122 units? Where they are? Who was excluded? Why? No answers. Can't get the preliminary report. Can't tell. Like to have it at that meeting on the 24th. It's unethical. 3 of you on the board directly benefit from this district. And it didn't come up again after 2 years until January 9th. That seems awful coincidental. Huh, boys? The thing that really bothers me is...
You want to
And you-
wrap this up fairly quickly?
Yeah, I got one more comment.
Okay.
On July 19th, this board, without ever having contacted anyone in the proposed district, without ever having letting anyone in the town know that it was going on, you were ready to pass a resolution on July 19th to create a wastewater district for the center of the hamlet that included people who were just sitting home watching and not knowing what the hell was going on. You hadn't sent out any requests for opinions, no petition, no surveys, nothing. You were just going to go ahead and do it. And the only thing that stopped you was the county said, hey guys, you can't just go ahead and do this. Thank God. But you were willing to do it. And I wonder why. Because you didn't want anybody to know about it. You wanted to force it through because it benefits you guys, the 3 of you, and any realtor in town. By the way, no one's property values are going to go up if they spend $2,000
All right, Pat, let's go. Let's
Excuse
finish it
me,
up.
nobody's property values are going to go up if they spend $2,000 or $3,000 more dollars in taxes a year. They won't be able to sell their homes anyway. Yeah, I'll wrap it up.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anytime.
Tom
Next.
Warner?
I can't compare with that. And I would also like to ask why the commission reports are never listed on the agenda anymore.
The what report?
Commission reports?
They will be.
Okay, it hasn't been in some time. Also, on these figures that come out from time to time, is anybody held liable for those figures?
What figures?
Well, how about the transfer station? Or there's conflicting numbers. Is anybody held liable for that? You have paid employees that are supposed to have that. Are they held liable for it?
I don't understand what the question is.
I think you call her the bookkeeper. Is she liable for the numbers that she produces?
Is she bonded?
I didn't ask bonded. I said, is she liable?
I still don't understand what you're asking, but
Is the information correct? If it's erroneous, is there any action can be
you mean
taken?
erroneous on her part? I don't think that's true, but whatever figure she has.
I said if it were. I don't say it
If you're
is.
talking about liability, I think you need to be more specific about what you mean. I don't,
I'm not citing any instance when it's wrong, but when you have 3 or 4 people giving you reports and they all conflict, there should be some way of finding out who's correct and who's wrong.
yeah, again, I don't know exactly what you're referring to.
Well, in the newspaper articles, we have 3 or 4 different,
No, that's up to the
Thanks.
newspapers.
well, they're statements.
That doesn't mean they're correct.
You're agreeing that you didn't make necessarily correct statements?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I haven't read the newspapers, so I don't know what they are, so I have no idea.
Okay, well, I would
I know
just...
the reports that were coming here were true, so I don't know where what you're headed to or what you're.
Okay, well, it has nothing to do with you specifically. It's anything.
I don't think it has anything to do with anything in general, so at this point, I don't think it is anything.
Okay, well, that was all. I'm going to be brief because I don't think it, I'd just like to know that the figures are correct.
Sean?
No comment.
No comment? Okay. Andy Durbridge?
Hi, good evening. Andy Durbridge, Wasaic. I have a couple of comments briefly. One thing you have on the agenda tonight is the issue of the transfer station, and I have been following the issue. I don't personally use the transfer station, but I think it's an important facility in the town. That was mentioned at last week's meeting repeatedly for many different reasons. However, I think what I've seen is that the town board, this town board, has given particular due diligence and patience in discussing the issues surrounding the transfer station, and coupling that with the fact that we are in a particularly financial situation nationally. We're not in buoyant times right now, so I think the fact that the town board is willing to visit anything and everything that they spend our money on, it's our money, the taxpayers' money. I'd like to just say that, that is exactly what you were elected to do. That's exactly the right thing to do. And if, after everything has been looked at, the facts are that the town board considers that the current transfer station is on an environmentally sensitive site, a change in operations will actually save us money, that the important thing is that whatever petitions, and I haven't seen the one that was talked about last week, were passed around for signature, whatever petitions were passed around, the important thing is that if the costs do not rise for the users, and I think the town board has given that consideration a priority, if you take all of those things into account, and it still makes a lot of sense that we change the operation without a lot of inconvenience and extra cost, and it saves the taxpayers money, then somebody needs to speak up, as I'm doing tonight, and say, that's a good move. The second point I'd like to make is on a slightly different subject, but as Mr. Nelligan spoke at some length tonight about the wastewater system, I think it's worth saying a couple of things. One is, as a town, we've talked about a wastewater system for decades. way before I was a resident. For some reason, and for different reasons, that system falls apart at every hurdle. And everything I hear afterwards talks about how disappointing that, and how apparently we will never see a wastewater system. Well, it seems to fall apart at many hurdles. And what I'd like to say is that no matter what I heard last week and what I heard tonight, particularly from Patrick Nelligan, I think there needs to be a little support for a wastewater system. There needs to be a little support for the work that a hard-working committee does to try and find, and I'll stress this word, an affordable wastewater system. The one word that seems that Patrick didn't mention tonight, but used other words, this word affordability is in the title every time I see something come out from the wastewater system. If you ask anybody on that committee, the first thing they will say, if a system is not affordable and it will not pass muster with the voters in the proposed district, it will not happen. It's a priority of the committee to find an affordable wastewater system. And the other thing I would say, two things in summing up. One is, I do not believe there is a conspiracy. I do not believe the work of the committee has been subversive, hidden, unannounced, and all the other things that Patrick alludes to. Somebody needs to speak up against that. No matter what Patrick says, there is no conspiracy theory. And I think, lastly, I'll finally say this, and then I'll finish. I think your words tonight were out of order, Patrick. The town board and everybody here deserves civility. They work very hard, and they don't deserve some of the cuss words used tonight. I'll finish on that. Thank you.
Cheryl Morse.
Before I speak, I have some things to
Do you want these three of these?
for Vicky,
The supervisor.
CJ, and Darlene,
CJ?
please.
I don't get one.
I guess not. Yeah.
Good evening, Cheryl Morse, P.O. Box 645, Amenia. I'm here to speak again about the transfer station. A lot has been said and some research done, but I think still more needs to be done. The more looking I have done, the more questions I've come up with based on what information I've been gleaning from the meetings and whatnot. First thing, law about solid waste management, and I quote, and there are copies of this in the packet. This was modified last June 2009. Solid waste management. Counties, cities, towns, and villages. Any municipality may enter into a contract with any other municipal corporation or public or private corporation or individual for the construction and operation of a solid waste management resource recovery facility for the processing of solid waste or for a system of collection and disposal of municipal solid waste through resource recovery. General municipal law. I won't read the whole thing, but there are copies of it. Also, legal framework for providing local government services. Also, technical publication about intermunicipal cooperation. All of these things can be obtained through the Department of State website for the state of New York. In addition, I've taken the liberty of making some phone calls. I talked to the manager of the Sharon Salisbury transfer station. They have actually managed to make it a profitable entity. I would urge the members of the town board to speak with Brian Bartram, who has managed that facility. Included in that packet are 3 years' worth of figures from their website that Mr. Bartram was gracious enough to point me to.
And he provided me with a tremendous amount of information, and he would be more than happy to speak with anybody on the board. Regarding the sensitivity of the current site versus the proposed Welsh site, guess what, folks? They sit on the same aquifer. This is evident if you go back and you look through the comprehensive plan materials and you look at the maps. You'll see I'm, honest in conveying this information. Nobody's looked at that I know of. Nobody's discussed it. I think it's an important issue. There are a lot of questions regarding traffic patterns, how it's going to change that situation on 343. So I think it does bear more scrutiny. And if you want to do the best for the taxpayers and the town. Bill, are you listening? Excuse me?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. It's rude to do that when someone's speaking,
I'm listening to you.
however. So I have many, many more questions that I've come up with. What I've put in those packets gives you a starting place. As far as who you can talk to, there's information there from DEC. There are different resource recovery agencies and associations who help towns find the best places to get the best prices to pay for the things that you want to dispose of. Most of the garbage that we get rid of, household garbage, goes to energy burn facilities. And I understand that Welsh actually takes some of their stuff that they get from us through one of their sister companies to the state of Connecticut for it to be burned and disposed of. So there is trafficking of garbage and waste that does go over interstate lines. Construction and demolition debris gets taken to states who are able to take in that kind of debris. So I think some of the information that we've been given is erroneous. And I'm very concerned about the fact that this just wants to be rammed through. Everybody talks about the mantra of saving the taxpayers' money. And I realize it's really, really important in this economy and with the financial situation to look at that. However, it may not be in the best interest over the long term. So saying that, I'd like to encourage the town to get a committee to look into this, to look at all the aspects of it before you vote and make a decision. I'm willing to even volunteer my time because I've already gotten a lot of information that I've provided you folks with. But I think you really need to look in depth at what Sharon Salisbury has done. They're also in the process of setting up a new transfer station. Brian Bartram explained to me that in order to mitigate the issue of leachate from household garbage that's been picked up, they actually have drainage set under their garbage hopper that drains into a septic tank. So periodically, that waste water can be pumped out by someone who does septic work, septic pumping, and it keeps that water from going into the wetland adjacent to where they operate. So there's a lot more here than meets the eye. So I urge you to really take a little more time if the taxpayers' pocketbooks are in your best interest for the town. Thank you.
That's all.
That's it? How, are you want to speak?
Yeah, can I?
Okay, yeah.
So is that just for the public meetings that you have to sign in? Because I showed up early and I didn't. Anyway, I seem to keep missing it. So this is just a little pre-meeting, the public meeting, before we have the regular meeting? You're going to adjourn this one and then start the other one? Or okay, it's all one. By the way, that was, I don't even know if I completely agree with you, but it was very well put. I guess with the transfer station, to me, yeah, you're trying to save us money. I have sympathies for that. And at the last meeting, I think you said the key thing, Bill. You said, and I want to, that it wouldn't cost anything to restart it. Are you really sure of that, or is that sort of off the cuff? I mean, doesn't the state have have all sorts of forms. I mean, I guess I want to know, what I wanted to ask you last time, but I didn't get up, is what would the nut be to, you know, if we're just going to look at financially, not all the other issues that was brought up eloquently, but if we're just going to look at it financially, we save $20,000 a year and that's $40,000, what's the nut to restart it? And then, right, because if that's less than what we save in a year, then also it gives you really good bargaining position with Welsh 2 years from now. If we could know, and I know you can't predict what they're going to do in the future, but if we didn't have a transfer station, we were going to start one today. Would we need a CEQA? Would we have to have a engineering report? You know, would that be between 3 and 5, 5 and 10? I mean, is there any way that can be estimated? Because I think that would put a lot of, you know, fears to bed. Because I think the reason people are against it, some people want it for community reasons and other reasons. Some people are worried that, you know, it's you know, like Lucy in the football, you know, 2 years from now, and then it's, you know, the slightly whipped stat, you know, the mustache comes out, the evil cape, and they're going to charge us more. I think that's what people are worried about. So, is there any idea of what it would cost to restart one?
Well, the only thing, you know, the transfer stations are registered by the DEC for the towns to do. There's just a registration form, you know, but that was done 20 years ago.
You'd have to, the only thing you would have to do with DEC is amend the registration form to move the location, but as long as it's the town transfer station, it can operate pursuant to a registration. It would, you know, the cost to move it from the Welsh facility to, you know, to have the town operate it again, you'd obviously have to pay operators and...
Ian, let me, you have to summarize. It would be no, so I see where you're going. So it would be no more difficult than what we're doing now to move it from there to
Well, you still have to have
343?
haulers, you know, to Cheryl's thing, all garbage in Dutchess County goes to Poughkeepsie. That's mandated by Dutchess County.
Right.
So all recyclables go to Poughkeepsie.
Has to.
By law, by Dutchess County law.
Right.
We can't ship it anywhere else. So that is set already. So that, you know, all we do is collect the garbage or whatever it's going to be, the recyclables at a transfer station, and it goes to Poughkeepsie.
Okay.
Whatever the paper is sold, I don't know where it's sold. The metal goes to a place on Wingdale. So whatever.
I think it's
at this
recyclable.
point.
The typical recyclables, once they leave a private person's, you know,
Our
possession, it goes, it's about now the property of the Dutchess County Resource
Correct.
Agency.
Once
Okay.
it's dumped, it's property of the county.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm interested in learning that, really. It sounds, but I was just trying to narrow this and make it a financial argument. So
There's
if
a
we go to
difference
move
between
it,
a
if we go,
transfer station and a private carter. What the private carters can do and what we can do are two different things. They can haul it, we can't haul it.
so there's no for us to run it ourselves. There's no re-startup nut. There's no.
Well,
I know you said that the last time, but you're willing to marry yourself to that comment?
that?
I think it would help you.
Actually, there's,
I said there's no re-startup cost. There's no, you know.
actually, the way this bid was set up said where the owner has a responsibility to register this facility and submit the annual report, and I believe that language is also in the resolution. The town will be required to amend its registration with New York Department of Environmental Conservation. Well, I had a lengthy conversation with Martin Brand, who's the Regional Materials Management Supervisor for the Solid Waste Program at DEC. And he explained to me that the registration license is site-specific. For a new location requires a new application on behalf of the town. In other words, Welsh cannot use the town's registration to operate for the town at Welsh. And he said even if it could, if there was a violation, then the town would also be liable in addition to Welsh. But the way the DEC law reads, it says Welsh Sanitation cannot operate the transfer station under the municipality's license. And according to the DEC, it's not possible to give a registration to someone who doesn't have control over the facility. So the bottom line for registration permits are they have to be site-specific, they have to be specific to an applicant, they have to be given with specific conditions met, such as limits to what the municipality would generate, In other words, 2/3 of solid waste brought to Welsh Sanitation would have to be the town's. If Welsh Sanitation went for a permit, that would automatically trigger seeker. And at that time, some of the things that would be looked at would be the impact on water, how the proposed action would affect the protected trout stream that borders the Welsh property, impact on transportation. I understand there's only one road in and out, and if we have 260 residents going in and out during the week, I imagine that would have some effect on transportation. Noise and odor input and impact on growth and character of community, and will require a public hearing. So whatever Welsh decides to do, they need their own application if they want a registration, or if they go for a permit, that would trigger seeker. But in no way, shape, or form can they operate with the municipality's registration.
I beg to differ with you. but-
Well, you can beg to differ all you like, but I spoke to this person.
have I.
And he, no, you may have spoke to him, but you didn't
I spoke
want
to
to
the
hear.
DEC, and I spoke to Welsh's attorney, believes that we can get it.
No, we cannot.
Well,
Absolutely
I'm just telling you what
not.
they can. You're wrong.
I'm not wrong.
Well,
He absolutely cannot operate under a municipality's license. He has to get his own.
no, that's not what we're being told.
I don't think so.
Well, I'm
Welsh
sorry, I'm
is-
not lying. I'm not,
Their,
I'm just telling
their
you the truth.
environmental attorney believes that we can operate it under the
Right.
town's registration. It's got to be amended
Mhm.
with DEC, but he believes that you can do it.
DEC said no, and he said if it comes on his desk, he's going to have a real problem with it, because he said what most towns do, which apparently isn't happening in this case, he said the town and the hauler would come in to talk to DEC and set up a meeting called a pre-application meeting. So the solid waste people would sit down with the environmental permit group to find out whether or not they needed a registration or they needed a permit. They would also at that time find out whether other permits are required, such as stormwater. And that's the way they expect it to be done. And he made it very clear to me, because I talked to him for several hours today and several hours yesterday, that in no way, shape, or form can Welsh Sanitation operate a transfer station under a municipality's license, registration.
Well,
Welsh operates transfer stations all over the county. Why would this be an exception that they don't understand the law when it comes to Amenia, but they understand the law through the rest of the county? And
I have no idea what
That
they're
makes
doing with the rest of the
absolutely no
county.
sense.
well,
I'm sorry.
they operate 8 or 9 or 10, 15.
Yes, and they either have their own permit or they have their own registration.
The same as we do.
No, they
The
don't.
difference is operating on Welsh's property as opposed to town property.
Yes.
But the regulations state that municipal transfer stations
Cannot.
can exist pursuant to registration if it's on the municipality's owned or operated or contracted for.
That's exactly right.
Right.
And if it's, the registration is tied to, it has to be site-specific, specific to applicant, and it's given with certain specific conditions. But under no circumstances will they give a registration to someone who doesn't have control over the facility. And if the facility is at Welch's, we no longer have control over it. They have the control because they're the ones running it every day.
It's going to be pursuant to a license agreement. And that, there's a difference of opinion there. There's no question that Welsh can't operate it if DEC doesn't approve the amendment to the registration.
And
in this
they're not
contract.
about to.
So it's up to the town board what to do. The specifications for the bid required that the operator's got to be able to, or the contractor has to be able to operate the facility in accordance with all of the federal, state, and local rules and regulations. And I put a provision in the resolution that says that awarding the contract's contingent on approval of the registration by DEC. so it's up to the board.
It also says the town will be required to amend its registration with the New York Department of Environmental Conservation, and that's not going to happen. They were very clear. They said that they have to have their own application for registration because it's site-specific,
Well,
and it's specific to applicant.
they're not agreeing with you.
Yeah, Welsh feels that you can do this, that there's no
I'm sure
question.
they do, but obviously they haven't really done their homework.
Well, I think they're wrong, but you're wrong, but.
I am not wrong.
Well,
I don't think the regional materials management supervisor at DEC is wrong.
Well, we spoke to the DEC, so
But you see, the resolution will be
Right.
moot if in
Right.
fact they cannot get DEC approval. The resolution provides
Absolutely.
that it is
It's
not
already in
going to
there.
happen.
Right.
Right.
So
it's
worst case, if
pending.
it doesn't, you move it to the town highway garage.
Yeah,
That's
it's
it.
Or
pending.
you
won't-
want there.
You're going to need approval for that, too. Do you think
Well, they
DEC is going to let us just move it anywhere we want?
you
I
do.
don't
Move
think
it to the
so.
town property.
You,
There's a stream there. They need to know things that affect the environment.
Well,
Any-
we have a salt shed there too. Does that affect the environment?
anytime you
40
move the
years?
location of the transfer station, you have to amend
Sure.
the registration.
Right.
To have Welsh operate at the current location, you need to amend the registration because it's a different operator.
Right.
The difference, what DEC is saying is when if it's on Welsh property, municipalities can operate transfer stations pursuant to registration. For a private contractor to operate a transfer station, they need a permit. Private contractors can recycle pursuant to registration, but they can't take garbage, trash, with just a registration. Private contractors need a permit, which is an extensive process. You're correct. You have to go through seeker. It's expensive. It's time consuming.
But Welsh can also get a registration license.
Not to operate a transfer station. I don't think so. If DEC is telling you, maybe I'm wrong, but
Well, this is something that DEC has been discussing in Albany and in their legal department, and they're going to be publishing a ruling soon.
okay.
But basically, he said if one came in
So they're going to shut
tomorrow,
down all these transfer stations in Dutchess County?
No, if you operate the transfer station on the municipality's property, you can use the municipality's registration.
absolutely.
There's no question.
We don't own the property
We
sits
don't
on now.
own,
We had a lease
Arguably, that's
agreement.
a
So-
that's a
problem.
problem.
That's a problem.
So, and arguably, this, operating on Welsh's
We have an
facility
illegal
is not
license.
really any different.
The-
But
They don't think so.
I know.
The current transfer station, though, won't close until, if this gets approved tonight, the transfer station will not close until Welsh has the proper permits. I mean, that doesn't make sense.
That's
So-
up to the board, but correct.
We won't have a valid contract.
And,
Right.
and so it would invalidate the contract if they
Right.
can't get the approvals they need. And then,
Well, we have to move it anyway, regardless.
well, I mean, that's a whole other, I mean, that's the issue.
Well, not
Kevin brought up,
necessarily.
Is that,
The owner wants to,
You can't do
okay,
that. Well, but then you're back to your stuff again. We're on somebody else's property, which we are now. We have an illegal permit.
We've got an-
So at this point, you're bouncing
is-
around here too.
And it is contingent on DEC
Right.
approval, so
They're saying, their attorneys are saying,
It still
which you've
gets
had
that added
extensive
review.
dialogue with them in the past
Correct.
several months, that they can get this permit. They feel they have an environmental attorney that's working on this. that
If it's
says
a
that-
municipally contracted for transfer station,
They can
it's
get a
covered
permit.
under the regulation. And,
under their own application.
No.
Yes.
well, I'm not certain how, because we've gone back and forth. They're helping us with the amendment to the registration. So as far as who signs the application, I'm not certain whether that makes a difference or not. But it would be, what the intent is that it will be the town transfer station, but operated on Welsh's property. And it's going to be pursuant to a license agreement.
Sure.
The other thing he explained to me if there was such a thing as the town using the town's registration license to operate on the property, should Welsh get a notice of violation and be subject to fines, the town would also be liable? Because we're the owner. Isn't that correct?
That makes sense. I'm not
Yes.
certain of it, but that's probably the case
We wouldn't be
now.
liable if we're the owner?
I
Wouldn't we?
believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I would think so.
But I mean, that's the
We're
case
liable today.
now, yeah.
So what's the difference? There's no difference.
If it's completely privatized without us retaining ownership, we wouldn't be liable. If they had their own application.
It can't be completely privatized under town law unless we amend our zoning ordinance. And that's why it would be the town transfer station that they would operate.
Correct.
No private,
Again,
But they need their own application.
Get in there.
no private waste management facilities are allowed in this town. That's why we have a municipal transfer station, and why, whether it's Welsh or us operating it, that's the only way we are allowed to have a waste management facility in this town. Now, I understand, I mean, you're bringing up some technicalities that could invalidate this contract, and if that's the case, then we'll have to come up with other alternatives if we are to approve this tonight. But the point is, we need to move it from the current location, whether it's us operating it or someone operating it for the town. While we stay there, whatever the property owner is saying now, he has tried to use this in the past to get us to amend our zoning ordinance. And we are not going to do that, at least not, I mean, I just don't see how we can do that. And whatever he's saying now to try to get us back to the table, that's great. But what's to stop him in 6 months when we tell Welsh to go away to say, nope, we're going to kick you off the land unless you amend the zoning ordinance, which is what he sounded like he was starting to do a few months ago. He has come to the town in the past and asked asked informally whether the town would be interested in doing this. The transfer station cannot stay there any longer. And the town is not in a position to buy property to move it and continue operating it. And the highway garage, while it's a backup plan, I mean, that doesn't sound so great to me either. So
I think right now it's a budget issue. I mean, just the figures that we have for operating at a loss every single year, we're up to $75,000 in the past 4 years. This year, according to the budget, the revenues for 2012 to date, we have revenue of $25,955. That's according to the receipts that are coming in, and then the expenses that are going, the liabilities. We have a loss of $13,686 to date as of now. And if you extrapolate that on a monthly cost, we're losing $1,700 a month. By the end of the year, it will total $20,000. So $20,000 per year over the next 2 years brings the grand total since operating in 2008 to $100,000. So to me, it seems worthwhile to explore this for the next 2 years and then revisit it. This resolution is pending DEC approval. If they don't approve it as it's written, then we need to revisit it sooner. But in any case, this board has to look for some savings here, and we're talking a lot of money over the long haul. And as much as anyone, I hate to see people lose jobs. I mean, I had to let my personal assistant go who ran my office, and it's not easy. It's not easy to let someone go. But we have the town to think of, we have the taxpayers to think of, and we have to move forward. And this is an opportunity I think we should pursue. It doesn't cost us anything. And as far as traffic, I mean, this is open 7 days a week, 6 days a week. They're closed on Sundays. So the opportunity for people to come and go, it's not like a traffic jam of 200 some odd people going on a Saturday, a Friday, a Saturday or a Monday. So it's more convenient. If we combined with another town, our people would have to go somewhere else to bring their garbage. So how would someone on the southern end feel about going to Salisbury or Sharon? That's not feasible. So having something in town, when we put out this request for bids, that was one of the criteria. It had to be in a locality that made it easy for people to use, for the townspeople to use. So I think the savings over the next 2 years is worth the exploration. It's not going to cost any more. If in some cases it costs less. So a lot of other towns are doing this, and I really think we need to explore it at this point.
In fact, we spoke today to Royal's or Welch's attorney. Since the article in the Poughkeepsie Journal, their phone is ringing off the wall from towns in Dutchess County to do the same thing. So
They're also trying to save
they're
money.
also trying to save money. In fact, the
'Cause
city of Poughkeepsie is talking about closing the sanitation department and privatizing the whole thing. There's 22 jobs on the line, I believe, and that's what they're doing. So that, to save millions and millions of dollars.
Well,
But that's obviously in the paper, but the savings of this thing is just going to be.
The other question that came up last week, and Kevin started bringing up, what happens in 2 years? We were able to get pricing from I was able to pull pricing from 5 of the 8 municipalities in Dutchess County that use Royal to operate the transfer station. I mean, I circulated this to the board today, and I printed this copy for myself, but it's all comparable to the contract, the bid contract that Royal submitted to us as far as fees go. Some towns don't pay any fees, bags of trash. They all range, every transfer ranges, the lowest in Rhinebeck, they pay $1.50 to $4. The highest, every municipality, it depends on the size of the trash bag, but it ranges from basically $1.75 to $1.50 to $4. Carloads, they're the same at the other transfer stations around Dutchess County that what Royal is bidding their contract. Pickup trucks, as was discussed last week, that's a little higher. We currently charge $50. As Royal bid, it would be $70 for pickup trucks. The other municipalities that charge for a pickup truck, it's about $70. Contractor truck, we charge $100. Welsh, Royal, they bid us $90. Some of the other municipalities that have contractor trucks, they range from $80. LaGrange is $80 to $120. Beekman's $80 to $100, depending on the size of the load. So it's all comparable as far as the worry about what happens in 2 years. I mean, we should think about what happens in 2 years, but what Welsh Royal is charging every other municipality in Dutchess County, it's comparable to what they bid to us.
And those contracts are more than 2 years old. Those are contracts in there, second to fourth,
Yeah,
fourth to sixth year.
I wasn't able to find out how
doing it
long,
for
but
years.
I mean, there's enough
They've been
evidence
renewed
from what I
once.
saw that they aren't going to significantly boost the rates of what they bid in their contract or their bid documents to us.
I never asked a question and started such a whole debate
Yes.
before.
Sit down.
I think I need to. Hey, no, that's on your time. I didn't use any time here. You guys interrupted me. Secondly, just a technical matter. Some letter went out to all the people who would be in the potential sewer district. How long ago? More than a week ago?
I think 2 weeks ago.
Since you're not in it, you didn't get it this week.
He's in it.
I'm in it.
No, you're not.
Yes, he is.
Right.
Your property's excluded on
No, it's not.
Let me.
I think it is.
Really?
It's excluded for some reason.
Oh, right.
I didn't know that.
Immaculate, you're right.
Well, because I have that mandated P.O. box.
You're in.
And if they send it to the physical address, it doesn't get to me.
He's in.
Okay,
Yeah, well,
you'll enjoy paying.
Patty,
$30,000 a year.
Patty, if,
2,000 proposed.
if things are sent to my physical address, the post office returns them. So you might have that in a return pile. I'm
Yes, it
mandated
does.
by U.S. Postal Regulation to receive mail in my P.O. box since I live so close to it. All right, so maybe that's why I didn't get it. Anyway, just a technical issue. I wanted to ask you about now, a completely different matter, sort of pseudo committee report. I just wanted to ask you, can we move forward on spending, the Main Street grant? And I had ideas about splitting that up from the donated money and our $25,000 grant and that whole idea of micro projects. I wish you guys would give me all some input so we can really push forward with that. Bottom line, the tree money, we probably can't put any, we have that under 9,000. It's not 9,000 plus, it's a little under 9,000 for all the trees. There's $2,000 of that we can spend this year. So if people want to get together and, like I said, literally put an X on a map, we can plant $2,000 worth of trees. And Vicki, Diana King said there was a place that would do it for about 100 a tree, or would buy them for 100 a tree. I don't want to misspeak.
She knew a reputable place that Charlie Paley recommended.
Anyway, so that we could do something this calendar year and then maybe hopefully firm up our plans. And, I know you wanted to do something, Bill. This is, I think, the one easy something we can do, and then maybe firm up those plans, maybe start in the fall if the weather's with us. But
Can we start using that money, Mike? The 25,000?
Yes,
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
anytime.
We have to have a plan, though.
Right, well, unfortunately, Leo's mom died, so he's been.
no, I know.
Right.
And he
So-
sort of gave us an overall plan, but it wasn't, and it was great. He had all these things about, if you noticed on those maps, how it would shade out, the sort of shade zones it would create. And his thing was very, very interesting. But it didn't say, this is what we'll put out to bid. We'll have so-and-so, let's say the guys were doing Fountain Square to build this retaining wall here, and we'll put this bench here. I mean, it wasn't in that sort of, it wasn't down to that sort of specificity.
Can you draw a bid? Can you do a bid for us? All right.
But anyway, because if you want to move forward with it, that's what we need. We've been sort of hovering right at that area and not
Okay.
going forward.
Okay.
All right, so that was it. So,
All right.
but if you guys could give us input on the enhancement committee, I mean, literally, just start saying, let's put some here, let's put some there. We have a list of approved trees. If you would just
Well, we have to
give
get
us some-
Wasake involved, too. We have to do something to handle Wasake.
Yeah, half and half. So-
Not with the grant money.
No, not with the grant money.
No.
some
This is
other
the tree money.
Right.
This is what was raised years ago. So, and there's 2,000 available now. We can split that up any which way we want, and that would still leave 7 for next year after we do hardscape stuff. Vicki said for Wasake, she thought it'd be a good idea if we put some at either end of the new rail trail to sort of soften it. And I thought that made sense. But there are a lot of ideas floating around, and we need to sort of nail it down, or we're going to let this season slip by too. That's all,
All right.
Bill. Thank
Mike,
you.
we can work on that, right? You're going to give us a report in a second anyway. Town clerk report.
I just would like to remind everyone, still no burning till October 10th. The dough permits are on sale till the 1st of October, and then the bow will start. And I'm closed on Monday, so don't come over.
So closed on Mondays and Fridays, is that right?
This week coming, yes. Mhm.
Are you on vacation this week?
I'm taking 1-day vacation.
Wow.
Yeah.
You going away?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Europe.
Europe in 3 days.
Good
Just
for
for the
you.
day, just for the.
There is that new plane.
Are you going to Milan or
Poughkeepsie.
Okay. Transfer station, accept or reject the bid.
highway?
Oh,
East
I'm
Highway.
sorry, highway.
The past month, we've been pretty busy. We completed 3 DEC permits, which included Sharon Station Road. We upgraded a pipe 48-inch culvert to 60.
Kevin and Pat. Stan has the floor.
We did the rocks on Cascade Road and a little bit on Tower Hill. Chip sealing, we did some chip sealing Monday, probably about $40,000 worth. We did Undermountain, Bucks Hollow, Clark Hill, Benson Road, and Yellow City. The storm that we had here a couple days ago, we weren't affected too bad. There's a lot of little stuff that came down and a couple minor washouts, so we lucked out once again. This morning we had 3 guys go for a drug and alcohol testing, which I'm sure be fine. I met with Morris Associate this morning on Tower Hill for the CMO grant. They got the plans almost finished, and that they're on the right track. I believe they're doing the right thing, so hopefully they'll submit them and that'll get approved, and next year we'll do that.
They're going to submit them to SEMO
Yes.
this soon?
What's that?
Soon?
Yes, the plans are almost finished.
Okay.
And I talked to the engineer on Willow Lane this morning, yesterday morning, and he said the contractor should be starting any day now, hopefully. He was going to get back to me with a time and a date, but he hasn't yet. Our 2 trucks up to Steventown, up to Zwax, they're almost finished. One is finished, so we can pick them up hopefully next week. That's about it. The employee handbook, where we stand with that? And we've been working on that employee handbook for over a year and a half now. I have one employee down there that has 800 hours sick time since about March. So every month, either he calls in or he loses 8 hours. And I really don't think that's fair. We've been, this
We need to do a
handbook's-
resolution to accept it.
And we have the bookkeeper here in town, and our employee handbook says no part-time employees get insurance benefits. Well, she's getting it, so if she's getting the benefit, the insurance, why can't the highway employee get the 8 hours sick time until this book is passed? I mean, either he loses it or else he calls in. I mean, so could the board at least?
We can't do it once. We have to do it, it's done, basically, other than what we were waiting for your insurance, basically. That's what we were trying to do. So,
Yeah, but why is that? I don't know.
Why?
Okay.
What are we waiting for?
well, we were waiting for, I had Linda, the accountant, look at his insurance. You know, Stanley asked for insurance policy for his retirement. You know, it's about $7,000 a year.
It won't be just for Stan, it'll
Well, that's
be
right. Well,
a
that's-
general amendment for any employee.
That's correct. And how many hundreds of thousands of dollars are we going to spend for buying insurance for retirees? That's a question that we have to figure out as a board as we move forward with this thing. That's what we're taking a look at. We're also in the process of the Dutchess County legislature is looking at pooling our insurance for all municipalities within Dutchess County. So they'll have that done at some point next year. So do we do this, don't give them insurance, adopt the handbook now, and not give them insurance and wait a year? That's what I'm sort of waiting for, to see where we are with this thing as we move forward. You know, I agree that something should be done at some point, but that's just where we're sitting with it. That's what.
How do other municipalities handle health insurance, or
You have samples.
typical, so is there a typical?
Some do, some don't. You know, some have offered, some have taken it back.
Yeah, the consultant gave us samples from different towns.
Right.
But
We
what's
have
the
them.
kind of percentage of
Well, it could,
towns that
it could, oh, how
offer
many
it versus
towns offer?
don't?
Northeast does,
for their full-time employees?
yes.
But he's not a full-time employee, he's an elected official. That's different.
So we would be doing that for the town clerk. I mean, how many employees would this affect for us if we enacted
All full-time employees.
all of our full-time employees? How many do you have?
If they were
In
eligible,
highway.
you have
I have
eligibility
5.
5
requirements.
full-timers that would be eligible?
Well, they're only about 30 years old right now.
Not
so-
now.
Right,
How
but,
many
you know,
years
you
service?
you cannot, my understanding of the law is you cannot enact, offer coverage like that until you know exactly what it's going to cost the town. If it's 10 employees that we have to offer to, then we have to figure out what it's going to cost down the road. We just can't arbitrarily say we're going to start giving insurance to people as, you know, as they retire. Then we need to know what the liability is for the town.
Right.
But
So
you
it-
set eligibility requirements,
Well, which
like,
we have.
like 20 years of service, age 55. I mean, that's what all the other towns have done. They have eligibility requirements.
Some are doing away with insurance. So city, you know, other, you know, there's stuff that we have to look at. Well, I have Linda working on it, as to what it's going to cost us.
So the employee handbook is ready to go, but for this provision that has just come up. So why don't we pass it now? And as we do
Sure.
work on that, trying to work out what the cost would be down the road to the taxpayers.
Yeah, we can amend we
Yeah.
can amend it.
Right, we
It can
should
be
pass
amended.
it so
But we
that
need
it
a
has something.
resolution to pass that.
Do we need a resolution?
Yes,
or
we
can
do.
pass it?
Sure.
Yes.
We can have Ian draft a resolution for the next meeting for the handbook.
That sounds great.
We're
I'll-
pretty
Yeah, I think we need to get it done.
Sure.
We've been working on it for months.
But then in the meantime, know what the cost figures are. If we could have a projection
Sure.
of some of the, like the ages, you know, in your department, some of the people that are in the building here, you know, what would the cost projection be over the years? And, you know, may have to be adjusted by the criteria, as you mentioned.
If
You know, so many-
if we offer insurance, we don't have to offer insurance.
No.
You know,
I know.
it's very arbitrary in the handbook. You know, you can offer it for 1 year and say the next year, forget it. We're not doing it.
Yeah.
So do we, you know, now we pay 70%. Do we pay 70% of a retiree's insurance or do we adjust the figures? That's stuff that we have to have a discussion about.
That's a very complicated discussion,
right,
right?
it's not an easy
Because-
discussion.
Right, so I think we should go ahead and pass it as it stands and at our next soonest
I think so, too.
meeting.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, and if the county, with the discussions that we're going to start with the county after the first of the year, then we can
That
see.
might
what-
help.
It's,
Yeah.
hopefully it'll help.
Yeah. And it seems like we could pass this. In fact, at one of our budget meetings, they have to be advertised. We could add it to the agenda to pass the employee handbook. We've been discussing it for quite some time now, so,
Right.
Yeah, I think the sooner the better.
yeah.
It's all the soil, the borings, the soil for the new highway garage. I haven't really had a chance to look at the proposals, and I talked to Darlene about it. Maybe her and I could get together and look at them together.
Yeah, I don't have them with me tonight either, but,
You probably should go down there, maybe?
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. If I could meet with you, Stan, go down there, look at the property, and then we can go over those proposals as to
Okay.
where the borings are with each person. There were three submittals. And if we can just come to the board and say this is the one that should be doing it, and it encompasses the area that we need or whatever. So I'd like to meet with Stan next week down there and go over that, and then report back to the board.
Sounds
That's all I
good.
have.
Oh, Stan,
We do have a letter from Morris, right,
Oh,
on the
right.
parking.
Yes, on the parking.
So do you want to go over this or you want
Yes.
to wait?
No,
Go
why
over-
not do it now?
Yeah.
Let's see. August, let's see, attention Stan Whitehead, Mechanic Street and Route 44 intersection parking issues. Dear Stan, on August 31st, we met with the above intersection to review concerns on the street parking close to Route 44 intersection. Based on our further research, we offer the following. Highway design manuals prohibit no parking within 20 feet of the designated crosswalk. In my opinion, the installation of new curb for the Dollar General has restricted the travelway on Mechanic Street. As a result, on-street parking along this curb should be prohibited. No parking sign should be installed the entire length of the curb. Regarding on-street parking at the Cozy Corner, which is not the Cozy Corner side of the Mechanic Street, in my opinion, parking should be prohibited from Route 44 intersection to the telephone pole, which includes an area 20 feet back from the crosswalk. The concern here is the tenant parking in the back and onto Mechanic Street. If one vehicle was allowed to park 20 feet from the crosswalk, in addition, if one car space were allowed by the pole, provided it met the 20-foot requirement, the width of the car would likely protrude into the travel lane. Prohibiting parking on both sides of Mechanic Street in the vicinity of Route 44 will allow free turning movements for vehicles entering existing Mechanic Street. I recommend striping and no parking signs to delineate these zones. It is encouraging that businesses are located in the hamlet, and parking is important for these businesses. There is parking along Route 44, which is not true, and it is important to keep the Mechanic Street intersection and Route 44 clear, especially when there's more weekend traffic. It is my understanding there are other development proposals in the Hamlet area that could create the need for more parking. I plan to schedule a meeting with Chuck Walters, the New York State DOT permit engineer, the week of the 24th to review the parking in the Hamlet and inquire about a possible new curb cut on Route 44 to allow parking in a portion of the existing basketball court on Town Hall property. Although I understand the need for the curb on Mechanic Street to separate the general dollar from the general dollar parking from Mechanic Street, I believe the width of the curb could have been narrowed and some minor design modifications could have been incorporated at the intersections to possibly allow parking on one side of Mechanic Street. If you have any questions, contact me at 845-454-3411, extension, very truly yours, Pete Sotero.
So it sounds like we should authorize Stan to put the no parking signs up where they're recommended by
And
New York
strike.
State DOT and, yes,
strike.
and strike.
Well, the 20 feet is just, it's one car length, so, I mean, that would be typical.
Well,
20
to
20
the
feet is,
telephone pole sounds like it's more than one car length, doesn't it?
well, he mentions 20 feet. I mean, a parking space is 10 by 20, so I'm assuming he's talking one parking space.
When
But-
we met with DOT, Steve Munson,
Yep.
Yeah,
he pretty much said the same thing.
Yeah, to the parking, the telephone pole is fine on the Cozy Corner side.
yeah, so when people get to the
Greenleaf
end of
Cafe.
Mechanic, they can see out onto 343.
So we need to do a resolution for that?
I believe so.
I
Yeah.
think we don't need a resolution for
To
that.
what,
We
to
just
change the
make a motion.
To put up no parking
no
signs?
parking signs? It's probably a good idea to do it by resolution. I'm not sure whether you have to or not.
I think a diagram would be helpful. I mean, rather than, he did a diagram, but it's
It would
not,
be a good
it's
idea
generic. It's a
do it,
generic
yeah,
diagram.
to do it by resolution, where you could state the reasons for
Okay.
doing
Yeah.
it in the.
Then we'd have a
writing.
record,
Yes, I
Correct.
think it should be a very specific.
resolution.
And he also mentions DOT coming. Chuck Walters, do you know Chuck?
Yes.
Because Pete has scheduled a meeting with Chuck Walters the week of September 24th.
But that isn't on this issue.
Yes, it is.
That's to do additional parking. That's what it says.
That's for the tennis court.
That's to put parking by the tennis court,
Oh, in addition,
in addition to provide additional parking.
because I think that takes a lot, a little more further thought as far as losing that tennis court. I'm not ready to lose that tennis court for parking.
So is that, so
recreation.
should we have Ian do the resolution, or?
I can do the resolution.
I think
For the
just
no
based
parking
on
signs?
this information, it should be fairly easy.
Or are we going to do it?
I don't have a lot of time to do it, but
Or have Lana do it?
No, she doesn't have time to do
No? Okay, do we want Ian to do it then?
it. You know, I got to recuse myself. So at
Okay,
this
Ian,
point-
go ahead
so-
and do the resolution so we can get this done.
Okay.
This is a safety issue.
Well, the only thing I see is that, you know, and I'm going to say this as the property owner, there is no enforcement of the parking at all. You know, that Rosh Hashanah was over the weekend, was it Rosh Hashanah, or
Yeah.
the streets were packed in the no parking zone. So it just doesn't make sense to me, but it is what it is. You know, I think it's politics, but it is what it is.
I just wonder, with all those cars, if anyone had a problem with those. I mean,
No, there was none.
I didn't have a problem. I thought, wow, something's going on, then I realized it was
But, you know,
Rosh
you put all the
Hashanah.
parking signs you want, I don't care. But, because
Right.
they're not, to me, they're not going to do a thing.
I think it's a safety issue,
Well, it's been there for 40
whether
years.
whether it's enforced or not.
Right. Well, who's going to enforce it? You? You're going to
Not
call
me.
troopers again?
Not me.
So, you know, it doesn't make sense. You know, it's just foolishness, but it is what it is. It is what it is. I could care less.
Have you ever watched Judge Manning pull in and out of
I
there?
watch him every day. I watch
With
him
cars
every day.
parked there?
I've watched the soda trucks, I've watched the, who else pulled in there today? There was, tractor trailers in and out of there the other day for, Keen Stud. They have no problems. No one's got hit. No? Whatever. But that, I could care less. It is what it is. So, do what you gotta do.
It's no parking from 343 to where's the?
That's why I think a diagram is helpful.
Okay. Or maybe, I guess I could talk to Pete Sotero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's away on vacation until next
Well, it's
week.
20 feet from a crosswalk. I mean, it says
Which is a
here,
car
the
length.
design manuals
Yeah.
prohibit no parking within 20 feet of a designated crosswalk. Why can't we just say, Stanley,
Do you want my
within
copy?
20 feet of the crosswalks, paint it?
Is that,
You
is
know,
that
there's
an
no
extra
park.
copy?
Yo, you can have that. I can get a
Okay.
Is
copy
that
of
not
someone
clear?
else's.
Okay.
Well, there's more than 20 feet that's involved.
Telephone poles beyond 20 feet.
He doesn't mention the telephone
Yes, he
pole,
does.
does he?
Yeah, he does.
Says it
Thinks that's sufficient.
on the telephone.
And what'd Steve Munson say? I mean,
He
you
said
called him in
2
here.
car lengths, and I didn't think a car length was 20 feet, but maybe it is. Is it?
Parking space is 20 feet, 10 by 20.
Okay, so then it's 40 feet recommended by Steve Munson.
Steve Munson said no parking at all. And Bill Flood said, I disagree.
I disagree.
Right. He said no parking at all. That's what he said.
Right.
He didn't say
We're the only
22 cars.
village in Dutchess County.
Well, I don't really care if you want to put them up or not. I just wanted the minutes, and I recommended putting
Whatever.
signs up. If you don't want to put them up, don't put them up.
No, we are going to put them up. We're going to do the resolution, and you're going to put them up. So
I've
we
had
can
the
be
fire
done with it.
department talk to me, I had Judge Manning talk to me about it, and you said that Judge Manning had no problems about it,
That's
with
what
it
he told
last month. I went and seen him the next day, and he told me he had a problem. He said, that's not what I told Mr. Flood. I don't know, whatever you decide.
Well, I think we need to decide, and it seems to me what Morris Associates has said, up till the pole should be fine, and maybe the same distance, it's the same situation over on the other side, on the Dollar General side. If it's 40 feet to the parking, or the pole, whatever that is on the other side, that should do it. If it's good enough sight distance on that side, it should be good enough sight distance on the other side.
Somebody's gotta make a,
I'll make a motion that we draft a resolution requiring Stan to stripe and put signs on Mechanic Street from,
No parking signs.
no parking signs, from the crosswalk to the telephone pole on the Cozy Corner side, and a similar length from the Dollar General corner of 343 Mechanic Street, a similar length back, so that there's adequate sight distance approaching the intersection.
It should be the whole length on the general dollar side, on that curve, because it's close to the road.
But if there's adequate sight distance from the Cozy Corner, when you look right, you don't have a similar situation?
When the
I don't
cars are
understand.
next to the curb, they're parking on the road also. There's not enough room for the cars to get off the road.
Oh, I see. You're talking about travel lanes not being adequately wide.
Right, on the Dollar Generals.
Okay.
Not on the.
So the whole length of the Dollar General side is what you recommend. Is that right, Stan?
Yes.
Okay, so the curbed section on the Dollar General side, no parking.
Okay.
Is that right?
And then on the Cozy Corner side, 20
From the
feet?
crosswalk back to the telephone pole.
Okay.
He's gonna
Except
make
you
a
need to put
resolution.
that down as
He's gonna write the
Greenleaf
resolution.
Cafe,
Somebody
which
put
is
a
what it
motion
is
for it.
now.
I'm making a
Okay.
motion to authorize the lawyer to draw up a resolution specifying these areas to be
Okay.
delineated
Okay.
as no parking.
Mhm. Okay, we ready? Councilwoman Reamer?
No, I'd rather see a diagram before a resolution is written, frankly.
Well, we're just making a motion to have him do the resolution.
Right, but I think it needs a diagram with it.
Well, we can do that. We can do that with it.
Okay.
I mean, we can add that to the motion if you
I
want.
can talk to Pete Cetera.
Okay. I'd like to see a specific diagram. I think that's helpful, too, with your sight lines as you're approaching.
Sure.
Yeah, we can add that to the resolution. This is just a motion to have it done.
Okay.
So
Yes.
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 Councilman Haas?
Abstain.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Flood?
I abstain.
And I voted yes. I didn't hear you ask me.
Did I say, I didn't say Councilwoman Perotti?
No.
Oh, Councilwoman
Gee.
Perotti. Yes?
Yes?
Okey doke.
So did Darlene vote yes?
Yes, and Darlene changed her vote to yes, because there's going to be a map now.
As long as there's a diagram with it, so it's very clear.
Okay, you have this resolution for the transfer station. You have that?
61.
I don't have it.
Oh, you don't have it?
Are we ready to move forward with this thing? With this
Yes,
transfer station?
absolutely.
Resolution number 61, awarding contract for operation of Amenia Transfer Station. At the meeting of the Town Board, Town of Amenia held at the Amenia Town Hall on the 13th day of September 20...
No, that's not the right one.
That's not the right one?
No, here, take
That's
this
what I
one.
just had in my box.
This is the newest one that Ian sent
It's in
today.
our pile.
Can I have yours?
Yeah.
Okay. No, this is old too. This is
13th
Yeah, this is
day.
what was in our box.
You got it?
No, I don't have one now.
Oh,
Go ahead. I'll
Transfer
just-
funds.
It should be September 20th.
Awarding contract for
Yeah.
operation of the Amenia Transfer Station. The meeting of the Town Board, Town of Amenia held at the Amenia Town Hall on the 20th day of September 2012 at 7 p.m. Town Supervisor William Flood
Yes.
called the meeting to order. And, Darlene, you want to say?
Yes, I'll second this. Sure.
By Councilman Reamer introduced the following resolution to wit, whereas the Town of Amenia properly advertised for bids for a contractor to operate and maintain the Amenia Transfer Station facility located within the town and owned and operated by the contractor, and whereas the deadline for submission of all bids was September 4th, 2012 at 11 a.m., and whereas all bids submitted by the deadline were opened and read aloud on September 4th, 2012 at 11 a.m. at the Town of Amenia Town Hall, and whereas the only bid submitted by the deadline of September 4th, 2012 at 11 a.m. was that of Well Sanitation Service, a copy of which is attached here too, and whereas the Town of Amenia Town Board has reviewed the bids submitted by Well Sanitation, whereas the Town Board now wishes to award the contract for the operation and maintenance of the Amenia Transfer Station at the facility located within the town and owned and operated by the contractor submitted the bid, and whereas the town will be required to amend its registration with the New York Department of Environmental Conservation in order for the town, the Amenia Transfer Station to be operated by the contractor and at the contractor's facility. And whereas the awarding of the contract for the operation of the Amenia Transfer Station is a routine or continuing agency administration or management, which is a type 2 action that is exempt from seeker. And now therefore be resolved that the Town Board hereby determines Well Sanitation be the lowest responsible bidder for the contract to operate and maintain the Amenia Transfer Station facility located within the town and owned and operated by the contractor, and be it further resolved that the Town Board hereby awards a contract for the operation and maintenance of the Amenia Transfer Station at a facility located within the town and owned and operated by the contractor to Well Sanitation Service, contingent on the approval of the DEC of an amended registration of the Amenia Transfer Station, and be it further resolved that the Amenia Town Board hereby authorizes the supervisor of town to enter into and execute any documents necessary or incidental to effectuate the agreement with the Well Sanitation Service in accordance with the terms of its bid, a copy of which is attached here too, included but not limited to the signing of the license agreement with Well Sanitation, the execution of amended registration with the DEC. The foregoing resolution was voted upon all council Councilwomen and councilmen voted as follows.
Just so it's clear, you made the motion, Darlene seconded.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Supervisor Flood?
Yes.
Councilman Haas?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Parodi?
No.
Councilwoman Reamer?
Yes.
You could transfer a fund.
Okay. There's two different ones. No, I only need one.
Just need one?
Yeah. Make sure it's the one for the 20th, today's date.
Resolution number 62
Yes.
of 2012, authorize the town board to transfer funds. Whereas the town board has the authority to transfer funds when necessary and unanticipated to amend the budget, and whereas the town budget line 16704.1.61 central print mail legals requires an increase in the amount of $257.68 for the purpose of legal ads, and whereas the town budget line 19004.1.49 special item CE contingencies requires a decrease in the amount of $257.68. Whereas the town budget line 14304.1.00 personal CE requires an increase in the amount of $807.41 for the purpose of a consultant with Jeff Travers with Public Sector HR Consultants LLC, and whereas the town budget line 19004.1.49 special item CE contingencies requires a decrease in the amount of $807.41. Whereas the town budget line 16201.1.00 building PS requires an increase in the amount of $1,035 for the purpose of personal services for custodian, and whereas the town budget line 16204.1.133 building CE cleaning building requires a decrease in the amount of $1,035. Whereas the town budget line 16202.1.00 building EQ requires an increase in the amount of $236.99 for the purpose of wireless access points to the assistant to the supervisor's office, and whereas the town budget line 19004.1.49 special items CE contingencies requires a decrease in the amount of $236.99. Whereas the town budget line 13204.1 police and constable CE requires an increase in the amount of $443.15 for the purpose of the attendance of 2 deputy sheriffs at the meeting on 8/16/12, and whereas the town budget line 19004.1.49 special items contingency requires a decrease in the amount of $443.15, whereas the town budget line 14504.1.00 elections requires an increase in the amount of $3802 for the purpose of the board elections and charges, whereas the town budget line 19004.149 special items contingencies requires a decrease in the amount of $3802. Now therefore be resolved that the town board authorizes the transfer of necessary budget lines to proceed the transaction. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Councilwoman Parodi?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Haas?
Yes.
Councilwoman Reamer?
Yes.
And Supervisor Flood?
Yes.
Billy, listen, you have another transfer of funds.
Yeah.
Do you have it?
Resolution number 63 of 2012, transfer of funds, whereas the board has the authority to transfer funds when necessary and unanticipated to amend the budget, and whereas for the purpose of refurbishing the truck 2000 and 2000, is that the year? Must be.
2000 and 2004.
Right, the year 2000, year truck year 2000 and 2004, the amount of $47,400 $498. The highway superintendent has requested that it's necessary to increase line 513043.00 machinery in the amount of $43,500, and it is necessary to decrease line 514243 snow removal in the amount of $43,500. Now therefore it be resolved that the town authorize the increase of $43,500 to said line to process the transaction. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Supervisor Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Parodi?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Haas?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Reamer.
Yes.
Bill, can I ask Stan something before you leave?
Sure.
Stan, I forgot to ask you if we could borrow, if I could come by the highway garage tomorrow and pick up some highway cones. We have a historic walking tour of Wasaik on Saturday morning from 10 to noon, and I have to get a group of people across Route 22. And if I had some cones to slow down traffic and people out there to help get these people across 22 safely. We've done it in the past, but it helps to have some visuals to slow the traffic down before they... I can do it on my way, like about 8. Or I can come earlier. I can come at 7:30. Would that work? Better? I would say 6 or 8. Something like that. Do you have some orange vests too? That just 2? Okay.
This runs by our truck too. Resolution 63? 64. Personnel changes, whereas the New York State Controller's Office requires a resolution for the town personnel changes, and whereas the personnel changes were sent to Dutchess County Human Resources, formerly the Dutchess County Personnel Department, and whereas the Amenia Town Board appointed the following positions: Patty Barron, Deputy Town Clerk, to Town Clerk effective July 23rd, 2012, at the elected town clerk's annual salary to be paid in the amount of $1,114.34 biweekly. Michael Flint, audiovisual technician, effective July 2nd, 2012, prorated by annual salary $5,778.30. John Cullen, custodian, new position, effective April 2nd, 2012, at $15 hourly. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Amenia Town Board hereby accepts said appointments through December 31st, 2012, and be it further resolved that this resolution shall become effective immediately. Moved by councilperson.
I move.
Second.
Councilwoman Reamer.
Yes.
Councilwoman Parodi.
Yes.
Councilman Haas.
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle.
Yes.
And Supervisor Flood.
Yes.
Okay, this is 65.
Resolution authorizing the submission of 2013 Dutchess County Community Development Block Grant Program application, number 65, Project Wasaik Trail to the Train. Whereas the town of Amenia, New York, is participating in the Dutchess County Community Development Consortium for fiscal year 2013, and whereas input from citizens and groups at the town board meetings and during a public hearing on August 23rd, 2012, and continued on September 13th, 2012, has been received and considered, whereas the Wasaik Trail to Train project is an important public infrastructure project for the town of Amenia. It is expected to generate new tourism opportunities and economic development for the community. The town has obtained 2 major grants to help pay for this project, including a $480,000 Transportation Enhancement Program grant, a $100,000 New York State Dormitory grant, a $10,000 Greenway grant. The town has already committed to a $120,000 local match. However, additional funding is needed to complete the project by next year. An application is being prepared for a grant in the amount of $150,000 to the CDBG grant program, and to help provide additional funding for this $850,000 project. Now therefore be resolved that the Dutchess County Community Development Consortium fiscal year 2013 application for the town of Amenia, included the certifications included hereon, is approved. Be it further resolved that the submission of said application to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development is authorized. Motion made by?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Councilwoman Reamer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Parodi?
Yes.
Councilman Haas?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Flood?
Yes.
I think he has the originals. Let's see, he's got a whole stack of them. Do you have the rest of those?
No, I'm signing, we'll sign them as we go.
Okay, because this end doesn't have them.
Yeah, some of these aren't. signed.
Yeah.
Oh, they're piled.
As long as
Yeah.
we get them at the end.
Approval of minutes.
Mhm.
Isn't there another transfer fund one for the programs for the aging?
Yeah.
I don't have that.
I don't have it.
What is that?
Program for the aging?
I don't have
Well,
that.
it's to move
For the picnic?
money. It's got today's date on it.
I don't have that.
I have it.
Well, it's got
It
your
was-
name on
It
it.
was on the email.
My name's on a lot of things, but I don't have that either.
I don't know.
It's another, I don't know, has today's
Is it
date.
a resolution?
Yes.
I don't have it.
All right, so it'll be 66?
Yeah.
Here, you want to read that one?
Sure.
I'm using the boards here.
Whereas the town board has the authority to transfer funds when necessary and unanticipated to amend the budget. Whereas the town budget line 67724.1.88 Programs for Aging CE Picnic requires an increase in the amount of $105.95 for purposes of senior picnic at Boyce Park. Whereas the town budget line 19004.1.49 Special Items CE Contingencies requires a decrease in the amount of $105.95. And whereas the town budget line 2770.1 requires an increase in the amount of $7,500 received from Greenway Heritage Conservancy, HRV Incorporated, regarding rail to trail. Whereas the town budget line 80204.1.102 Planning CE, Planning Rail Trail, requires an increase in the amount of $7,500. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board authorize the transfer of necessary budget lines to process the transaction. I so move.
Second.
So, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Parodi?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Haas?
Yes.
Councilwoman Reamer?
Yes.
And Supervisor Flood?
Yes. Did you all receive this letter from John Fenton?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Can we go back to the minutes? They weren't approved.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Motion to approve the minutes? Who wants to make a motion?
We have the dates.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes.
And second? Vicki Doyle.
All right.
Councilwoman Reamer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Parodi?
Yes.
Councilman Haas?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Supervisor Flood?
Yes.
I think we should note which minutes we're passing for the record.
Okay.
It's July.
7/12,
Yeah.
7/19, 7/27, 8/9, and 8/21. 12. We received a letter from John Fenton, Building Department Code Enforcement Officer, to town board members. Subject 1, request to raise building permit fees for residential commercial construction. Request to raise fire inspection fees. Dear Town Board, below is a breakdown of fee schedule, residential, new construction, $1 per square foot of living space, renovation, manufactured homes, carports and garages, porches and decks and accessory buildings, 60 cents per square foot of living space. Commercial, new construction, $1.50 per first 500 square feet plus 75 cents a foot thereafter. Renovation, 75 cents per square foot. Fire inspection operational permit, $200. Place of assembly, $200. Multifamily, 3 to 10 units, $150. 11 to 50 units, $250. 50 plus units, $350. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to call my office. John Fenton. So basically what he's doing is going to a square foot cost figure.
And then there's an attachment
Right. under
that,
The memo, this,
the process server.
right. And then September 19th, 2012, the town board from John Fenton, the code enforcement and officer, subject to approval to hire third-party process server. Dear board members, I'm requesting the approval from the board to allow me to hire a process server to serve criminal summonses upon defendants from our zoning court. Thank you, John Fenton, code enforcement officer. I'd like to make a motion that we approve this. Do we just have to approve these fee increases?
You can do it by motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we approve the increase in fees, actually the restructuring of fee structure for the building department.
Second?
Second.
Councilwoman Reamer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Perotti?
Yes.
Councilman Haas?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Flood?
Yes, and also I'll make a motion that we recommend the approval of the board to hire a process server. Give John the right to hire.
I think we would do the hiring, right?
Yeah, we would do the hiring, right.
And the
Yeah, the
second?
reason he wants to do that is because a lot of people, when he sends things certified, they just don't pick up the mail.
Second?
Yes.
Councilwoman Reamer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Perotti?
Yes.
Councilman Haas?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Supervisor Flood?
Yes. Supervisor's report. The landfill, they started cleaning the pond, I guess they call it the West Pond. The first set of dredging was done, and the tests were negative for PCBs, so that part's done. They moved to the second phase of that, which they started today. They were digging in there today, so hopefully they'll get that done the next day or two. And then the testing, it takes 3 to 4 days to get the test results back, so they have to stop. Also, the Sevenson has started to pump water. They have to filter all the water that they dig. So I'll read this to you in reference to my email below to Stevenson. This is from Liz Rovers from CT Mail. In reference to my email below to Sevenson, I just wanted to let you know that Sevenson started pumping water down the water at the north end around 3 p.m. today to establish the seal of the portable coffer dam at the north end. They plan to pump, treat, and discharge treated water until 10 p.m. tonight, which is tonight, and then continue pumping and treating water through the night, but to collect the treated water in 2 post-treatment frac tanks, so there was no discharge during the night. Sevenson will have 2 people on site during the overnight hours for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Sevenson at this time plans to pump, treat, and discharge treated water between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. and pump and treat and collect the treated water in frac tanks overnight. Sevenson removed the first temporary roadway in the southern marsh area today and evacuated sediment from below it. They constructed the 3rd temporary roadway this afternoon in the southern marsh area and will be excavating sediment from it tomorrow. If you have any questions, Liz Rover. So they're going to be pumping there all weekend, so people see them running around, they're going to be there most of the weekend. The only other thing I have is a nomination from the Veterans, for Senator Greg Ball, the Veterans Hall of Fame. Stephen Value was nominated for the medium VFW number 544. He was the military achievement awards or achievements for this guy are combat action badges, Purple Heart, Bronze Star, Good Conduct Medal, Army Commendation Medal, NICO Leadership Medal, Global War on Terrorism Medal, Medal and Cluster, Iraq Campaign Medal, Cluster Army Service Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Senior Explosive Ordnance Disposal Badge. So He's done his duty, and I believe he was injured, correct?
Yes.
I think he was injured. So they've nominated him. I sent the paperwork in today, so that's going to move forward. I think, Mike, do you have anything while we're here? You're here? Yep.
What's he nominated for?
Oh, for the Hall of Fame.
It's Greg Ball's 40th District Veterans Hall of Fame, second, for the second year. Second class.
Okay, I think we're at 41st District. Rearranging this, or
Well,
currently
technically, we're
it's
not going to
40th.
be, and we won't be in his district next
Right.
year, so.
Yep.
Mike Haggerty, town grant writer. I gave you the grant report. I've been working on drawing down money from our existing grants, put in a new claim to, in fact, after the meeting, I'd like to get your signature, Bill, on a new claim to the Department of Transportation to pay for the design report. The town's been billed already a significant amount from WSP Cells, but they've reached a significant milestone as well for us by submitting the draft design report for the Wassaic Trail to the Train project to the Department of Transportation. And I've been in contact with the Department of Transportation asking them about the status of that review, because it's going to be an extensive review. And I also was in touch with the Hudson River Valley Greenway and put in a claim to them for the remainder of that $10,000 grant. We've already drawn down $7,500. I put in a claim for the additional $2,500. They will pay the town $1,500. They're withholding $1,000 until the report is finalized. And they've also asked that we include their logo in the design report. So I called WSP Cells and asked them to do that. I forwarded the logo to them. And also I spoke to David Weiss of WSP Cells. He is forwarding the design report to several of the key players who have requested that, including Dutchess County today actually asked for a copy of the design report, which I thought
Right,
was...
to Greg Bentley and Keely Solomon.
Yes. So the more the better on that. I've actually downloaded it. It's just a very large document. You can't really seem to... I can't email it because it's like 25 megabits, so it's just too big. But it can be downloaded too from the website. I'll get that link to everyone. I think David Weiss gave it to us in the past. So hopefully we're moving forward on that. A lot of the design will be paid for through the grants. I'm now working on the Community Development Block Grant. Thank you for passing the resolution. I think it is a good project. I've talked to Dutchess County extensively about it. I sent Beth Doyle more detailed information about our grant. I gave her copies of our contract, a project description. So Dutchess County Planning has been informed about the project, and I think it's definitely eligible because it's in, there's 2 block groups in Amenia that are considered more than 50% low to moderate income, and that is in one of them, Wassaic. And the program is really meant to benefit low to moderate income individuals, whether it be through income or a limited clientele, meaning like handicapped accessibility improvements, things that benefit senior citizens and that type of thing. And I did mention to the county that I thought the part that we'd be interested in possibly refashioning the grant to get money under the CDBG program would be the entrance way and making the connection between the rail trail and the train station more friendly, more handicapped accessible, because it is a large connection really. It's a busy intersection. So it seems like that'll be a good fit. And also talking about it being economic development and tourism, so. And then I wrote the list of the grants and the status. I did get in touch with the Dormitory Authority. I'm trying to get them to give us a final contract for that $100,000 grant. And actually, I'm going to a meeting that Senator Ball is having. Stan had mentioned it. It's about transportation and public-private partnerships and potential grant money for major infrastructure projects. So I could follow up with them on that, too.
When's that meeting?
It's tomorrow. That was just an aside, but because I was interested in that, and I think it could be a good opportunity, too, for potential grants. Do you have any questions about this, the Trail to the
This
Train?
Trail Unlimited, are they going to do that?
I think that this is kind of moot. The fellow who was our contact at Trout Unlimited, who was so enthusiastic, Jan Weedo, died about
We still have the money.
We have never received the money. It
But
was
we had to spend it first.
well, that our contact at Trout Unlimited is gone. This was an agreement between Jan Wedo of the Trout Unlimited for the Stanfordville branch. I have another contact, just on the website, and as far as I know, we don't have I'm not sure the DOT approved the design, because we put it in, but it wasn't to scale. We didn't hire an engineer to do the improved plan for, making improvements to the fishing access at Wasaik by the ball field. So what we were thinking, latest thoughts on this, was that between Ian Holback and Dave Reagan and such, we could probably get the equipment to move the rocks down to the site ourselves and not even use a grant. I mean, there really isn't, all the people who are willing to help us aren't going to charge us, so we have the rocks donated already. So the project that we had in mind for that really doesn't require it, and like I said, our main contact is no longer at. So unless there's paperwork, a grant contract, I don't know about it. I just understood from Jan Wedo that we were going to have 3,000.
Wasn't there a letter or something? Do you have it?
Well, Janet Reagan prepared an application for it. Yeah, there is some, and I think Jan, I know he passed away, but he did present it to his board of directors, and there probably are others who.
Yeah, because we met
with
with them.
I think he did have to get final approval, or I remember last time I did speak to him, he was trying to get his final approval from his board. But it's worth following up on. I thought David Reagan was, or the CAC was going to be.
He was following up, and he did present to DEC a hand-drawn, what we thought was to scale, and they thought it was too big of a project, but I don't think they understood from the drawing, unprofessionally drawn, but I thought it was adequate.
Well, maybe you could do a site visit with him.
And that was
Someone from the
last
DEC.
The last discussion we had, we didn't discuss it last night, was that we would try to get someone from the DEC to come out to get a better understanding of what was really proposed, and that it was not
that would be the
grand
best
of
idea.
a staircase as
it looked on
was
paper.
portrayed. Yeah, it was portrayed in the rendering. So
the artist rendering was a little deceptive.
Now, did you apply to rural development, or are you still waiting to get information? Because I asked Mike to look into research and find our representative for this area from rural development, so we can apply to upgrade the kitchen.
I actually did do that. I've gotten the forms. It's an open deadline. I also contacted Leo Blackman seeking cost estimate. He's willing to do that for the town, or at least take a look at it.
So you're going to go ahead and do that then?
I have been, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know you started it. So we can move ahead on that, too.
I'll put that on once I do make a formal application, put it on this list.
Okay.
And we also were meeting with the Wasaik project with Bowie and Jeff.
Yes.
October. There is another grant that's come through, application for, it's a for arts and
art place
for rural communities. So we're in the process of applying for that. We're meeting with them. They've already started the paperwork. So hopefully we can get some money for them and for that project.
Maybe acting as a sponsor.
Yeah,
we're meeting with them
and get that thing going. Also at the Fountain Square is under construction. If you've noticed, he's actually doing a great job. I've been there a few times, but he's close to being done. I think he's going to take the fountain apart tomorrow. We can wrap that.
Yes, it has to be dry before he can work on it. But some of the bricks have deteriorated since we had the new ones replaced. He said there are about 20 more, so I'm going to get the names on there, because I have the master list, so I'll find out which ones we need to order additionally.
Are you planning to use the remaining funds of the Tribute Gardens grant for this?
Yes.
Yes, because there's about 7,000, and I think his bid was 6,700.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so that's, it'll cover it.
That will help for additional, if we're looking for more funding for downtown. And someone brought up streetscape and a bid spec. I'd be happy to do that. It would be good to develop some priorities as to what you would like to use that 25,000. It does seem like it is open. I told you the last time I spoke to the state, they said, I threw out a couple of ideas. They seemed to like the idea of like a community gathering place or some sort of amenity to make the town a nicer, to improve the appearance of downtown Amenia. So that is wide open as far as what you want to do with that 25,000. It's also the same for grading of the applications that we get. The town's going to have to develop its own priorities for that. A band shell would be eligible, things like that, streetscape benches, garbage receptacles, things like that, lighting, planting. But it's only 25,000. What can we get for that? It's definitely something to consider. But it is, it's a nice grant to have to do streetscape improvements. We could even use that for, we have a hamlet plan, we could go off of that as far as developing a
Obviously, we
bid
need
spec.
some benches. We have no benches in downtown. We have no garbage cans either.
Yeah, a lot of people have asked for benches.
So I did talk to, City of New York just bought from Stone Resources, stone benches.
Those are hard to steal, so.
600 of them, I think they bought, something like that.
Yeah.
How much were they?
We get a better deal. We're local.
All right, well,
So that's something that we could take a look at also.
Yeah.
But we also have to do something in Wausau with some of these trees. That's got to be done.
Well,
Well,
what
maybe
we
if-
thought we would do is the enhancement anyway. By the way, we did elect Kevin Cassone chair last night, is that we would solicit proposals from landowners or people who recognize that there are places where a tree would be appropriate, and it was intended for hamlet revitalization. And when they submit these proposals to the town or to the enhancement committee, they can review them and make priorities based on where they are. What people should do is write to Kevin Cassone, Chair, Enhancement Committee, send it to the town of Amenia, P.O. Box 126, or come to Enhancement Committee meeting, which is the third Wednesday. If you want to be considered right away for a fall planting, let us know right away. But you could get it straight to the town hall. And you should also indicate who would be maintaining it, watering it to make sure it survives beyond, and whose property it's going to be on. So you might recommend a square in a civic center, like I'm thinking at the top of Furnace Bank Road, for example, as you enter near the Welcome to Amenia, Welcome to Wausau sign. We could have a decorative tree there at that corner. There's plenty of empty space near that sign that could have a cherry tree that would be similar to what was here in downtown Amenia. So we could do it that way and have it come to the town hall.
Well, I was thinking about somewhere around the sidewalks on Maxim Mills.
Absolutely, if they will allow it. It's the question is they wanted a lot of informal parking down there. So they have, up until now, said they didn't want trees on their property, which would kind of impact their ability to informally pop cars into different places, because when it's festival time, it's very congested. So, yeah, if we can work that out, if you're meeting with them, you can go over with that idea.
I did have one other thing that came up. There's a new grant from NYSERDA for towns that participated in the last grant that we got to get up to 75% off of like energy efficient equipment that you like air conditioners and refrigerators, things like that. It might be helpful to the
Boilers?
Well, that's, yeah.
Because
I read the thing, it doesn't say that, though.
It didn't say boilers.
No, it doesn't say anything for the heating and air conditioning system. It's just room air conditioners, copiers and fax machines. I don't know if it's going to help us, but we'll take a look at it.
one of the other things that has come up through emails from different citizens is the condition of the playground that goes in back of the building. I was thinking that if the board thinks it's a good idea, that perhaps we can pursue a grant to make the playground out near the town hall a little more presentable and handicap accessible, because I think there would be parks grants that are available in order to, make it look better than it does and make it
We did get some
safer.
grants for Wausau for that playground. The Kaufman Foundation gave us $5,000 that helped offset the playground equipment is not cheap, for sure. But Janet was successful in getting that for
But, I think we would
11,
need a
12,000.
design, yeah.
Yeah, and I think companies, what we did was we just got bids from several different companies. They came in and put in a proposal and a bid spec, and we used that for our basis for our grant applications.
Yeah, especially if we make the equipment handicap accessible, I think we would be, we would be more eligible, for some of the parks grants. So I don't know if you'd like Mike to look into those possibilities for something like that.
Does the rec commission have that on their radar screen?
No, they aren't doing anything with it right now. The only thing they had talked about is looking for a grant.
Okay.
Also, but they,
Did they ever buy the
presumed-
mulch that we needed? They never got it, right?
I have no idea.
The WASAC hasn't
neither
been
one.
mulched?
Yeah, that's
Well,
been a
we're out
year.
of compliance there.
Right, we're
We
out of
do need to
compliance,
have,
so we need to
get that.
So that's
I-
something they got to deal with. The rec
I don't know if they purchased it or not,
I know it was a couple $1,000s, but they've been.
because I think Stan was supposed to,
Weren't you going to move it or something for them?
the mulch.
Has to be special mulches, I understand.
Yeah.
I would also mention that Berkshire Taconic Community Foundation awarded the dance program $2,600 for 2012, so that could be added to that sheet. I did apply to NISCA, New York State Council on the Arts, and to Office of OCSF, Office of Children and Family Services as well, for 2013. So hopefully.
And you two were on this Fountain Square thing, correct, on this grant?
I did.
Well, no, but you're overseeing it.
Yes, well, actually, you were as well. The tribute grant you're talking about.
Yeah, I went to get it.
Well, yeah, he's
Yeah.
almost finished, so, and I
Right.
told him that, you two were going to have to sign off on this
Oh,
before
yeah.
we
Okay.
authorize
Yes.
this final payment.
Yes.
So, I know, he was looking for a check today, and it's not.
Are we gonna, were they gonna add extra space for Herb's planting triangles? In other words, we wanted an extra foot.
Right, they did add
That was
some
in
to
the,
it.
that was in the bid specs.
Yeah,
Okay,
they did
I just
add
wanted
to
to
it.
make sure they were gonna do that.
Yes, but he has to fix the edge there where the edge of the garden, or the triangle has
Right.
bricks that are jutting out, so it's.
Okay.
it's,
But
you
he
know,
is gonna add that
Yes.
extra space, okay.
Yes.
I just have one other thing. I just sent an email out that I had Ian do some work at the former, I don't know the address of it,
I think it's 3302.
Bantam Way.
No, it's actually, it's a
343,
343 address.
which is the old gut building, which is now
Condemned, or
condemned
whatever.
or whatever.
Delinquent on their.
Delinquent.
Yeah.
It is for sale. I did have Pete Sotero there to take a look at it for parking. It just came up, so at this point, Pete's away. He was going to call I was going to call the DEC to see what, if anything can be done there. So that's an option that you can discuss and take a look at it as we move further here. It's relatively inexpensive. Well, I shouldn't say inexpensive. It's offered at, what, $50,000?
It's currently owned by the community development, or, no, I'm sorry,
Community Foundation, something?
yeah, it's Preservation, Community
Community
Preservation
Preservation.
Corporation.
Yeah, I think that's.
I spoke to their attorney, and they're willing to sell it to the town for $50,000, and then the town would have to pay the back taxes, which are roughly $15,000.
And then demolition, if that's what
Well,
it
this
is.
is-
You would buy whatever's on the property, right? And take
This was the
subject to
first
that.
salvo, so, but I don't even know if the board is
I think we have to look into it because it's an opportunity that will not come up very often.
I know
And-
when we looked into the pond area
Yeah.
years ago, that piece was part of, well, it was adjacent to the pond and where Mr. Nelligan now lives. His piece, we had an opportunity to buy that for $10,000, but this place with the gut was astronomical. They wanted like $500,000 back, I don't know, back in the late 80s. It was really way over the top.
Yeah.
So, but I think this price is a little high. I think we need to, I mean, I don't know how many other people would want to buy that piece of property. It's pretty limited in use, except for the town.
How much property are we talking here?
8
I
acres.
think it's
8 acres?
yeah.
But the fact that it has access on Route 22 and on 343, it's a critical component in all of our comprehensive plans. All of the consultants said this is a really critical thing, is to develop, you know,
Where is the
back
access on
behind.
343?
Off 343, isn't it between the, it's the alleyway.
Okay,
between- Yeah, you
right.
can get through there.
Phantom
It has Route 22
I guess I
access?
meant 22, not 343.
And 22.
It can
Where-
go, it can go, well, we have to
It
get
had
an
to
easement.
be easement, but there is
You can get to it
currently,
through that apartment building,
right.
Oh, okay.
but
But it
that's,
doesn't have frontage.
It's not
on
formal,
22. Okay.
right of way.
so that's just for discussion, that's,
I think instead of looking at the tennis court area, that Pizza Terra ought to be shown that 8 acres behind there on September 24th or thereabouts that week. Stan, you know, we walked back there, right?
we were there.
Yeah. And
Stan and I were
with
there
Steve
with Pete.
Munson.
And Pete.
Oh, and Pete, and what did he think?
He's gonna look at it, and, you know, but he's going on vacation, so
Okay.
once he gets back, then we'll take a hard look at what we're doing. He's back next week, right? I think, yeah. So, yeah, he's coming out
I
23rd.
mean, in order to really evaluate this, can we have a contractor look at us and give us a price of what it would cost to demolish it? Because, I mean, that could be a sizable sum.
Can you take a look at it for us?
Can you demolish it for us?
I would,
Oh.
really like to smash
I
it.
think
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
could you really, I mean, if
Can the highway
on town
department do
property,
something? They can
you
do
could
something.
demolish a structure and you could take it down?
They like it for study.
I just want to be, I know I just want to
Teaching.
Right. It might be a really good candidate.
So you wouldn't demolish, you wouldn't take the building down? I didn't think so.
Okay.
Why not?
He doesn't have the equipment to do
Oh,
it.
but maybe a test burn for the fire company or something like that might be. They're close enough, and it's surrounded by wetlands, so. But also tinderbox buildings.
I'm moving my car.
Yeah, just in case.
Town board comments, I guess?
Well, we did get I think it's for publication now, the budget workshops.
Yes.
It's codified, so that should go on the Channel 22, but just to let people know, September 24th, which is this coming Monday, is the building department, library, assessor's office, supervisor's office, and director of finance. And then the second budget hearing will be on October 1st, and that will be town clerk, tax collector, town court, constables, and recreation. So those are set up. They start at 5 o'clock on the 24th and 5 o'clock on October 1st. The other event on the 24th is the wastewater meeting that Pat Nelligan talked about. That is open to the public, and yeah, I only have a draft of the letter, but I can give you the dates because some of this information had changed. Monday, September 24th at 7 o'clock to 8:30 at the Town Hall Auditorium. Erin Moore Clark of Clark Engineering will present an overview, and Ed Mills and Jonathan Churns of Dutchess County Wastewater Authority will also be available to answer questions. Jointly sponsored by not the Lions Club, a Chamber of Commerce is participating. The Lions Club we didn't hear from them, but imagine Amenia will be there. There will be childcare provided. It's an opportunity for you to learn about the plans and how they affect you directly. This is a letter that went to residents, but it's open to everyone in town, anyone in town. And the door-to-door that Patrick was talking about after this meeting is to get an assessment from the people who live in the district as to what their feelings are. But there'll also be a petition, and I mean a petition in that, you know, whether you think this is a favorable thing to do, because now we'll know the cost of it. And if you're not in favor of it, I mean, we need to know everyone's input at that meeting. So this is not a done deal. The meeting that Patrick talked about where we approved, he said we approved the district, that was not the case. We approved the report. We had to approve the report to actually pay for it. We accepted the report on that, whatever day it was in July. I don't know the exact date. But it's not that we approved the district. We approved the report. And the district, just to let everyone know, it was actually comprised of a certain percentage. You have to have a certain percentage of residences and businesses in a designated district to benefit the larger cross-section of the town. So that's how that district boundary really took its shape. And so it's not a done deal. We need input, and it's an opportunity. And as Mr. Durbridge said, you know, it's not something where someone comes and is uncivil and starts arguing about it. It's an information that was presented to the town board that Clark Associates did at one of their meetings, and they will do the same presentation to the general public who may have missed that meeting, and, you know, have a conversation. You know, what do you think about this? It's expensive, but it's a start, and we need to know how many people feel that it's really unaffordable and how many people feel that it's affordable. So it's an open discussion, and we look forward to that conversation. And that's all I have.
Can I just add one more thing to this? We paid Clark $20,000 to do the report. I've been meeting with Sila Ridge, and they will pick up half the cost.
Of our $20,000 cost.
Of our $20,000.
That is very, very good.
So they have donated $10,000 towards the cost of the Clark engineering. So they told me that yesterday. So thank you to them.
Thank you.
I'd like to mention that Harlan Valley Arts is still interested in seeing if they can find space here in our building for art exhibit space. They have some gallery space seasonally, I guess, at the Wingdale Dover Library, the Dover Library in Wingdale. I missed that exhibit. It was on through July, I think. But there are some pictures that you can see on their Facebook page, and I've asked, as Bill suggested, them to come with a formal request as to what they have in mind, and Cindy Snow is, I believe, the director of that. So that should be forthcoming. Also, I had a request that we open up the town announcements period for October to candidates of both parties. Any candidate who's running for office in our districts, if we could encourage them to come and use the comment period to talk to us about their vision for our area and allow us to answer questions like we did for Dee Dee. Is that agreeable to everybody? I can let the Republicans know and the Democrats know for their candidates, and if there's any other candidate heads of committee of political committees, I can get them also.
They did it at a town board meeting, is that what they did? Or they
Dee Dee
did it
came
at
to a
Yeah.
town board meeting, used the public comment period to explain the new district that she was running in, and she did a great job of explaining what vision she had for our community and her district. And if we opened it up, I think, to any candidate, I think it's a nice way of getting the information out, getting the candidates recognized before the elections in November.
There's no Democratic or Republican committee doing any presentations?
I don't know. I think the Hometowner is going to print both a Democratic and Republican candidates issue in October, but beyond that, I don't know of any debate or anything that's cooking. But I know with Dee Dee came and used her 2 or 3 minutes very effectively, and I thought that's a good service to the rest of the town, who's, the residents who are interested in voting, to get a sense of who these candidates are and hear them speak.
Sure.
Even ask them questions. I don't know, maybe it's too much, but it seems to me it's a good use of our airwaves.
And there was a debate, Dee Dee Barrett and Rick Wager, when they ran,
in Millbrook.
back in the spring.
In Millbrook, it was very effective.
There was a debate, so there might, not to say that there won't be, but, I don't know if there'll be any, I doubt there'll be anything in Amenia, but
There was
maybe
one
elsewhere.
yesterday, the day before, in Poughkeepsie, with Steve Solian, Gibson, and
Oh, that would have been good.
who's the other guy from Brewster? I don't remember his name.
Oh.
What's his name? Clark?
Neil
DiCarlo, right. They didn't win.
That was on the conservative line. I think they were counting today, they were counting the Republican.
Well, yeah, but they had a debate at the
I see.
Poughkeepsie Chamber of Commerce at the Sheraton, or not the Sheraton, whatever the hotel was in Poughkeepsie. They had a debate. It's pretty close, though, right, I think.
13 votes.
Huh?
13 votes.
They're counting today, they're counting the writers and the Republicans.
It's like 500 or 600.
Yesterday they did it.
They have to do the absentee yet, don't they? Or do they finish
Not
them?
the absentee.
Yeah.
That's today, they're doing that today.
Because I know there were some write-ins for the conservative line. Because neither one of them, neither Solon nor DiCarlo were endorsed by the Conservative Party, but they were allowed to write in candidates for them.
I just have a few more announcements. One is Saturday, you can come to Gridley Chapel for a historic walking tour. There's a suggested donation of $5 per person that would go towards the restoration fund. They've made great progress. They've painted all 4 sides now of the Gridley Chapel. It looks very good, but we have to do landscaping, and there's some windows that are broken, and we're going to clean the beautiful slate roof. So there's still projects that need to be done. You could help us work on Gridley Chapel little bit by little bit, and enjoy some of the history of Wassaic. We're going to see the beehive kilns, and Dave Reagan is going to tell us about the iron industry. Janet is going to cover the Gridley, early Gridley years, and the Borden milk industry. And a new gal, Laura Wallen, is an NYU grad student in history, and she has studied the history of the agriculture in the Wassaic area, particularly the Luther barn and the auction barn. So it should be a fascinating history that goes from the 1700s right up until, the heyday of the agricultural, right up until the Luthers, auction barn stopped and the Maxon Mills stops milling grain. And so it should be a very comprehensive, enjoyable.
What time is that on Saturday?
10 o'clock, and we'll be absolutely done by 11:30, and we'll have refreshments over in the auction barn. It should be very fun. And then it sounds to me like there's movie nights on Friday nights here at the elementary school. Is that right? So October 5th starts that series, and it sounds like Christine Ford is heading that up. The Town of Amenia's dance program starts on Saturday, the 29th, and I think we have about 40 kids signed up, which was our goal, and there's still sign-ups available if you'd like to do it. It's targeted for second through high schoolers, but we're considering adding some adults to the high schoolers. Fill out the ranks there. If you have some interest, fill out a flyer and submit it to the town hall, and I'll send it on to the instructor, and she's formulating classes now. But it's all day Saturday. Classes will start from 9:30 up until 2:30, 3 o'clock, and we're just very excited to get that started here at the town hall. There's also a program next Wednesday at the Farm and Home Center for the Highway Department. I forgot to mention that. It's for snow and ice control. It's similar, it sounds like, to what they had before at Cary about a year or two ago, about how to minimize ice, salt on the roads, and topics include policy planning, snow and ice control materials. The Cornell Cooperative Extension is very interested in working, and the county CAC is very interested in working with highway departments in reducing their road saltage, and they are interested in collecting the data from different towns. So I know we got one of those little control computerized systems for the new snow truck, and all of Dover's going to this meeting. For instance, this is a very good lecture. It's on Wednesday from 8 till 2, and it's for $10, includes breakfast and lunch, and it's a really good presenter. At any rate, Stanley, if you or any of your people can go, I would suggest it be a very good investment to go and learn and find out what we can do to reduce our costs overall. They're trying to calculate and really find out what the savings are, and they are sure that the new device that you added to your truck will pay itself off.
We have 2 of them now.
Fabulous. I think that's great. All of Dover's going, and I can just tell you it's a really good speaker. He talked really well to highway. They want to really focus on highway people.
I think I sent you that email, right? I sent you that email.
How close are we to actually having a new website up and running?
I talked to them the other day. We're close.
Because, I mean, it partially addresses Pat's comments. I mean, at least I feel that I've seen with some of the other committees, I know Rec has had issues with getting their minutes up on the town website, that there is a bit of a disconnect, and once we have control and can upload everything we want, I think it'll be a lot easier to get minutes and have more clarity with documents posted to the website.
Absolutely.
I will say I'm very sorry to hear that Claudia will be leaving, and it'll leave a very big hole in our planning and zoning department, and it worries me tremendously not to have soon either Lana or Claudia there, who both have 30 years of experience between the two of them doing planning and zoning. It's not a small issue, and so I think this is a very serious
What I'd like to have the
staffing.
board is to have a short executive session after we're done here,
Okay.
to discuss some stuff that I have some proposals to address some of that.
I'd just like to say, I saw Claudia today. She's been a hard worker and very loyal to the town for 11 years, and it's going to be a great loss to have her leave.
Well, she's going to Kildone School, correct? Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Claudia, I would just say also, I just feel terrifically badly about this, but
So do I.
she has gone over and beyond the call of duty whenever asked. I can't think of a time when I didn't see her offering to go pick up Rose. If Rose needed to get into town to do her bookkeeping, she would do absolutely anything for the town. And so I just really wanted to thank her from my heart that she put so much of herself into this job.
She will be missed.
Yeah.
That's it?
I think we should have public comments at the end. I
Yes.
think it would be good. It kind of wraps up the meeting. early on, it's always, comments on the agenda, and I think maybe someone has other ideas about, how we do business. It's always good to hear them.
I agree.
Well, we've moved some of the stuff around a little bit.
Mhm.
I've been trying a little bit of stuff to, obviously, no one wants to be here 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
So it gets a little late sometimes, but once the website's up, some of the stuff can go on the website. It's a board decision once we move forward. Once that gets up and running, we'll see where we are.
Mhm.
But if you want public comments, that's fine at the end.
Well, and if some of the committees and boards do want to come in and report, they should be able to.
They have
but-
absolutely, sure.
Yeah.
I would encourage committees to come in and report because it is really a function that they are serving the town board, and it would be really great to see them in here once a month touching base with us and getting feedback going back and forth. The playground, for instance, where are we at? We're getting fall bulbs for enhancement committee. We're making the orders,
When are
start
they going to
thinking-
be available, do you know?
They are going to be usually first part of October, but the order has not yet been submitted. It's going to be Kyandoxa, tulips for the first time, and daffodils. And we're trying to get more yellow daffodils. We really followed, people voted when they picked up their last order, so we're following the majority rule on this year. There'll be
Good.
red tulips for Herb. He put in a special request. That's it.
Okay. I'll make a motion, we close, we have to close the meeting to go into executive session?
No, just
Before
to
you enter.
close the meeting, you have to move to go into executive session.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we go into an executive session.
I'll second it.